Why, hello everyone, how are you doing this fine day? Hope you're enjoying your week. Welcome to another survival challenge, in particular, a Berserk survival challenge. That's right, y'all have been asking for this one forever, so y'all best show up. I ain't kidding, you better show up. Y'all asked for it, here it is. If y'all been bothering me about this for a year, and I finally give it to you, and y'all don't show up, I promise to God, I am going to purposely put Guts in my next 5 videos and have him cucked in every single one. If you think I'm bluffing, motherfuckers, you haven't been on my channel for very long. I'll do it. I'll do it fucking 10 videos, 35 videos, a whole year. It's gonna be called some unnecessarily epic name like The Cuckening. It's gonna happen, bitches. Coming soon to a store near you, 2025. But I will say, don't get too excited, not about, The Cuckening, about this video. It's not like I'm just chucking characters all up into the Berserk universe, just all kinds of stuff. No, I'm not going into that much detail right now. It's almost the weekend. What the fuck you expected from me? We're gonna start slow, something small. We're gonna throw them into the Eclipse. You guys know the Eclipse, right? If you don't know anything about Berserk, basically what the Eclipse is, at the end of the Golden Age arc, which is one of the first arcs that Berserk ever really had, there's a part where Guts' best friend Griffith, after he becomes a cripple because he has sex with this king's daughter, who the king wanted to have sex with his own daughter, and then he got super jealous, and they made Griffith get tortured for like a year, and he turns into a cripple. Griffith's like, I don't want to be a cripple. Being a cripple sucks. Let's not be a cripple no more. So he decides to make a deal with the devil people, demon people stuff, and he sacrifices the entire band of the Hawk, which is his band of mercenaries. He's like, it's all his friends, the leader. He just sacrifices them all. They go into this weird alternate dimension universe shit after this eclipse happens, and then a bunch of big ass demons come out of nowhere and just start to slaughtering them all, and it sucks. And Guts is all like, you betrayed us, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And then Griffith's like, yeah, I did betray you, I'm gonna fuck your girlfriend in front of you. And then that whole thing happens, and Guts cuts his hand off, and the whole legend of Berserk basically begins from this one really horrible event. We're gonna take a bunch of badass monster hunters, and we're gonna chuck them in this same situation, this eclipse situation, and see how long they can last. I say how long, and not if they can last, because they won't. Even in the series, Guts himself cannot survive the eclipse. The only reason why he's alive is because Griffith, who then becomes Femto, just wants to fuck with him a little bit, and then this big dude in armor with like a skull face shows up and saves him, and yeah, but Guts was totally gonna fucking die here. Same exact thing's gonna happen to all these characters. They're all gonna die eventually, because in this challenge, we're not gonna have the fucking scully, big armored dude show up to save them. They're just gonna be in there. Really, the question's gonna be, how long can they last? Can they last a really short time? Are they gonna last a super, super long time? Who knows? That's what the video's about. That's the video you just clicked on. So, let's do that. Let's go over. Let's start right now. Right this second. See what I did there? I changed up. You were expecting me to say, let's get started. Now, as for what the eclipse actually entails, luckily for me, this is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. Big ass eclipse happens. Bunch of dudes get teleported from where they are into another universe where they start getting massacred by big ass fucking demon characters known as apostles. They're just demons. Like, they call them demons in the series. They're technically apostles. It's like people who did the same thing Griffith did, and they sacrificed a bunch of people for power or whatever the fuck they wanted, and then they became apostles. They became these giant man-eating demon creatures. These fucking things are then given the task of having to kill all the people that transported in this world, of which the people in this world get branded, and that branding basically tells all of the demon creatures within the world and outside of the world that person's location at all times, so they're just gonna be constantly hunted until they're dead. That's the whole thing that happens to Guts. Guts gets branded. Even though he escapes that world, goes back to the normal world, demons are just compelled to go after him because he has the brand. Yeah, this is what's gonna happen here, except, like I said, they're just gonna be fucking stuck here and have to fight for as long as they possibly can until, they inevitably get killed, because they will all be killed. If you want to know a detailed breakdown of what all the apostles do, their powers, their abilities, their strength levels, their speed, their durabilities, and just give you all the mathematical equations, no, it's fucking stupid. There's a bunch of big ass monsters. What do? They tear people apart. We never see them again. They're giant fucking demon creatures that are considerably larger than humans. They rip them apart. They turn them into fucking ready blood puddles on the ground. They eat their flesh. They chuck them several miles away. They smash them into rocks. They're just a bunch of fucking monsters. It's a small army of incredibly strong giant monster creatures. What more information do you need to know? Really? Seriously, tell me what more information you want. Some fucking people? Why do you want more information? What do you need that for? I didn't even read the whole manga. Why the fuck would I? You know what? let's go over it, because I'll tell you a little story, right? Back when I was in high school, I had a friend who really wanted me to get into 3 series, and I told him, no, I will never get into those series fully. I'll check them out here and there, but I'm never gonna super hardcore deep dive into them. And he's like, why not? They're all such good series. I think you would absolutely love them. Like, I think I would like them too. But no, and the reason why is because the writers take forever to write the fucking story, and they're gonna be dead before the stories are finished, and I don't want to get invested into a story that's never gonna have a fucking ending. Would you like to guess what those 3 series were that he was trying to get me into? I'll give you like 5 seconds. Okay, that's enough. The series were Berserk, High School of the Dead, and Hunter x Hunter. I'm 2 for 3, motherfuckers. So, you know, Hunter x Hunter fans, you might want to start getting emotionally prepared, because apparently I got fucking future sight. Again, this was back in high school. You're talking like 15 years ago. I was on that shit. At this point, it's just a matter of time before the prophecy is fulfilled. First up on the chopping block, we have the Slayer of Demons from Demon Souls. You guys know what that means? You know what time it is? It's time to piss some people the fuck off. Oh, yes, this is what I live for. I don't even have to fucking look at Versus Battle Wiki this time. I don't have to go anywhere near it. I know for a fact. Without even staining my eyes with the visual diarrhea of that website, I guarantee you that shit is at either Universal or Planetary bare minimum. Why do I know this? Because there's a lot of fucking flowery language in Demon Souls. And there are multiple instances of characters saying things like the fabric of reality to describe things. And because of that one little part of the fucking dialogue, they're gonna ignore the whole fucking plot of the game, and I guarantee you, it's gonna say on there that this motherfucker is either Universal or, like I said, bare minimum Planetary. If it's not, well, you know, good for them. Cool. They're improving. If it is, no fucking shit. That's not the fulfilling of a prophecy. These motherfuckers are just predictable at this point. There is no character in Demon Souls that is Planetary or Universal. I don't care about the fabric of reality descriptions. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean what you think it does. I'm not kidding. I really didn't look at the website, so I could be yelling for totally no fucking reason. I'm just so sure that they put some shit like that on there. Because they always do. They always do. So I'm going to spend the next who knows of this video defending a bunch of points that I think people might bring up, even though I haven't confirmed that they'll bring it up. Because again, I'm going full on the predictability of this situation. So if you never played Demon Souls, or honestly, even if you've beaten Demon Souls 1,000 times, it's very possible that you've gotten through and don't know anything about the story of this game, because like all From Software games, the story isn't in the fucking game. It's like on descriptors of items and shit. It's irritating. Give me a fucking story, guys. But a very rough-ish description of the game is basically there's this thing called the Old One, which is just this giant pit of darkness, and it sends demons up to the world to steal souls for it, and human souls in the Demon Souls universe allow people to see and basically be aware. It's like self-awareness and memory, and just the awareness of who you are, where you are, and your surroundings. That's just sort of how the soul is described in the game. The demons come up, kill people, steal their souls, and give it to the Old One. When there's no souls around, this thing called the Deep Fog shows up, and it basically clouds the entire world. And there's a bunch of statements in the game about how the cloud comes up and kind of like fucks with reality, and the fabric of reality is in danger because the cloud is coming. And the Slayer of Demons have been chosen to go out and slay said demons, so he can then eventually go and lull the Old One back to sleep, so that they can then repopulate and, you know, have the fog go away and all that. That is a very basic bitch description of this game, not going into super hardcore details, okay? There are a lot of statements in this game, like how certain characters became monumentals, and the monumentals using these archstones have been able to keep the fog at bay, but the Old One coming and killing all the people made the fog come through anyway, and your character eventually becomes a monumental or could possibly become an archdemon depending on how you play the game. And the argument that I am sure people are going to make is that because your character can become a monumental and defeat archdemons, that means that it should be similar in power to the fucking other monumentals who keep the fog at bay, and since the fog can destroy the fabric of reality, then that, you know, that means that he should be able to do that shit. And by the end of the game, he's like the only monumental left. So he's basically doing it by himself, ergo, he has the power to keep back a reality-destroying thing. Bullshit. Super bullshit. So much bullshit. There's no being in this game that's even close to that. The fog doesn't come from anything. It doesn't come from the old one. It doesn't come from the demons. It doesn't come from the monumentals. It's just a thing that will always exist. It's a force that just exists in this universe, and any being that has a soul can make it go away. It's not something that requires reality manipulation or being able to halt the destruction of reality. Like, you don't have to counter its power. As you're playing the game, every single boss door has like a fog there, and you walk up to it and it says traverse the fog. You go through the fog and the fog disperses and it's gone. The reason why that happens is because you have a soul. Like I said before, souls in this game are essentially your perception of yourself and the world around you. Without it, you essentially just become this mindless like thing that's just, you're not capable of, you're basically a vegetable. You're like a coma vegetable person. You have no memories. You're not really capable of thinking or processing information. You don't have awareness of yourself or the outside world. The fog is what happens when there's no souls around. All you have to do is be capable of being aware of your surroundings and go to that place, and your normal human soul will make the fog disperse. It's the easiest thing in the world to get over because you just have to exist. The only reason why it's even a fucking threat is because the demons killed all the people. There's no people there, and the people can't keep the fog at bay anymore because they're fucking dead. The game also never specifies what they mean by breaking down the fabric of reality. What is that? Can anyone who's played this game explain to me exactly what the game meant by that? If you say yes, you're lying because the game didn't fucking explain it. So how do you know? You don't. You're guessing. The most powerful being in the entire game is the old one, and the Slayer of Demons never actually fights him. By the end of the game, all he does is lull him to sleep, and he doesn't even do anything. We don't know what the old one can do. All he does is send demons to the human world. He's like, well, give me some souls and send them back. We have no feats from him whatsoever. The only actual feats that we have is what we see characters do within the actual cinematics and like game as you're playing it. And none of that shit is any more impressive than what we see Guts doing. Demon Slayer walks around the world killing a bunch of demons, and some of them are really, really big. Awesome. That's the same shit Guts does. Congratulations. I know someone somewhere at some point is gonna try and say, because the Slayer of Demons defeated demons like the Tower Knight, who is bare minimum 5-6 stories tall, that he must equate physically to that, which I will say, as I've said many times before, bullshit. No, the Demon Slayer is not equivalent to that of the Tower Knight. Not even close. I had a conversation not that long ago about a video I made where I basically said that V isn't as strong as Atom Smasher, and they don't correlate at all. The stuff that we see Atom Smasher do is so far beyond the stuff that we see V do. V really wouldn't even last a single hit against Atom Smasher, to which a bunch of people told me, well, that's stupid because V actually does take a bunch of hits in the actual game and he survives. And then I was just kind of standing there baffled for a second, and I was like, okay, cool. So now I just understand I have to explain what a game mechanic is to people. So we're gonna do that right now. You ready? I'm gonna explain a game mechanic to people. Okay, when you're playing Call of Duty and you're running around and you're shooting dudes in the story mode, and then you get shot and your screen turns all red and you're like, oh no, I was shot. Let me go hide behind this car until my health goes back up and the red shit on my screen goes away. Okay, it went away. 5 seconds later, you get up, you shoot all the dudes. Cool. Does that regular soldier that you're playing as in this pseudo-realistic historical fiction World War II game now have regen to where he can regenerate from being shot? Is that how that works? Is that just, we could just equate that across all Call of Duty games? They all have regeneration, right? What about Devil May Cry? In Devil May Cry, we see in the story cutscenes that Dante is capable of being skewered and stabbed and sliced and all kinds of shit, and he just heals from it. He has regen. But then when you play the actual game and people hit you, you don't have regen. Your health, you just lose your health, and then when your health goes away, you die. In order to heal, you have to find little health pickups. So, what? Are you just saying, like, does he have regen or does he not have regen? Because gameplay conflicts with what we see in the story. Are we just gonna go with it's gameplay! It's fucking gameplay! These are called game mechanics. It would fucking suck if you went to fight the Tower Knight and he killed you in a single hit. If your character was capable of tanking attacks from the Tower Knight, no other character for like a solid 80% of the game would be able to harm you from that point. You can go fight the Tower Knight in the game, and he can hit you a couple times, you can beat him, and then you can go to the start of the game with the little dude with a dagger who like hides behind that little wooden barrier that dude's like, oh, shy, he's like the weakest dude. You get like 7 fucking souls for killing him. And he can hit you and still hurt you because it's a fucking game. It's a game mechanic. You can't break bones in this game. You can have 1,000 HP, and then you can have 1 HP. They can take away 999 of your health, and you're still running around and skipping and hopping and happy as a fucking clam, and then one more hit and you're just fucking dead. Because it's a game mechanic. Health bars are game mechanics. When Geralt of Rivia gets shot in the face with an arrow in gameplay, that does not mean that Geralt of Rivia can take an arrow to the fucking face. It is a game mechanic. It is wild that I have to explain this to people. The Slayer of Demons does not have super amazing fucking durability to where he could survive being smashed with a massive fucking spear wielded by the Tower Knight that would be like getting hit by a pointy bullet train. Are you fucking kidding me? He's a dude who runs around fighting knights and little monsters and bigger monsters, and it's like it's relatively tame shit, guys. It is super, super tame. And y'all want to exaggerate this shit to extreme degrees because the game doesn't have a built-in mechanic where you die in one fucking hit. It's so stupid. There are 2 ways to beat the Tower Knight in the game. You can use long-range attacks at his head, or you can hit his Achilles heels, break him, and then he falls over, and then you can hit him in the head with a melee weapon. You do that enough times, he dies. You have to go after his weak points to do any real damage. Otherwise, you're just chipping at his health for fucking ever. And the story and the world and the lore of the game very clearly points to this being a David and Goliath situation where you are just a regular fucking dude who is bound to the Nexus and using demon souls to empower yourself to try and keep up while you're constantly being fucking murdered by demons. It is a weaker character overcoming great odds, because that's what like 85-90% of these kinds of stories are. And let me be very clear here. I am not saying that the Slayer of Demons is a normal, average bullshit dude who would be one-shot by anybody in the series. I'm not saying that. I understand that he can be knocked around by giant monsters and he gets up and he's fine. I get that. I'm simply saying that the scaling idea of he defeats this boss, ergo he is equivalent in strength, durability, power, speed, and everything to this boss is a bullshit concept. Just because the concept of a health bar exists in this game doesn't mean that when the fucking Tower Knight stomps on you and you survive, now suddenly you can just pretend like this dude can take, what, fucking several dozen tons smashing on top of his head? Every game trailer, cinematic, etc., that shows this motherfucker fighting somebody shows that he can be challenged and even killed by regular bullshit dudes with daggers. The idea of this knight character just running around having fucking massive great swords swung at him and just bouncing off his fucking flesh because in-game he's capable of taking hit from giant monsters is extremely flawed. See, it's shit like this to why I don't understand why people don't get it when I say that I'm not a scaler. Everyone's like, oh, he hates scalers, he talks bad about scalers, but he's a scaler himself, he scales. No, I don't. I do not scale on this channel. What a scaler does is he looks at feats and statements and then tries to take those feats and statements and using mathematical formulas and comparing sizes of different things to each other and tries to come to some sort of strength value for all of these different characters so that he can then debate other people on their strength. I don't do that. And the few times on this channel that I've done anything nearing that, it's because I'm fucking with you, and if you check the math, it's all bullshit. I have stated this multiple times, and I still get comments saying, no, you're a scaler, you're using math, you're doing the scaling thing, you're talking about this, because you don't know that the math that I did is bullshit, because you're retarded. What I do is totally fucking different. I, believe it or not, actually get into the stories and the art that I talk about. I actually, God forbid, let a little bit of the gay in and read through the story, play the actual game, try and see what the author was trying to say with the story, with the themes, with the characters. And I use story comprehension to interpret what the author was trying to tell with that piece of art. And then I take those interpretations and I try to bring it over into another world that I also use story comprehension skills to understand what's going on there, and then I try to see, based on my knowledge of these characters in these situations, how would they behave, how would this go down? That is what this channel is about. A scaler would say something along the line, well, if you're not using math and you're not like, you know, measuring and doing all this coming, then it's just like, it's just your opinion. There's no like, there's no facts, you're just saying some whatever. First off, I would say they have no business talking about facts, measuring like the width of a piece of wood that gets punched through in a fucking drum drawing in a comic book or a manga where the size of everything is constantly changing because it's a fucking drawing. But I would also say, yeah, welcome to the world of fucking art. That's how it works. People have interpreted art for thousands of fucking years ever since we started writing stories. That's what you do with art. I read a piece of art and you read a piece of art and we come to different conclusions on what that art was trying to say. We can both read the same stories and I can think a character was an evil piece of shit and you can think a character was like a really understandable, interesting character who was just doing what he thought was right, We can both have those interpretations because it's fucking art. That's how art works. And if after all of that you're still thinking, no, Ruga, you're totally wrong. Obviously you take in the game mechanics. This is dumb. Then I would say, well, if you want to take in the game mechanics, then how about the fact that the dude fucking immediately dies if he falls more than 30 feet? The fall damage in this game is egregious. I've survived more than 30-foot falls. Does that mean that I scale over the Slayer of Demons? It's a long story. I was hiking up Mount Hood and you're not supposed to go off the trail, and I did anyway. Don't do that. Or like the fact that even if you completely max out his stamina, he can only swing his weapon like 12 or 15 times before he's completely winded. I can swing a weapon more than 12 or 15 times. That's not a lot. What's making you decide that these game mechanics are to be utilized and these game mechanics aren't? Other than the fact that you just want this character to be stronger. Because I'm using contextual evidence from the actual lore and the story that we see. And the story that we see shows a character that is constantly getting his ass fucking throttled and killed over and over and over again, trying to complete this mission of killing all of the demons. He's very clearly shown to be more or less a regular dude. I'm not saying that you never use gameplay, but it's contextual. Doom guy fought in hell for 2 billion years straight and never died. He defeated the god of the Doom multiverse. Maybe if you get killed in gameplay because a barrel explodes next to you, that's probably not to be taken literally. Horizon Zero Dawn, you play as a character named Aloy that's just some normal chick. Yet you fight these giant robot dinosaurs that blast you with massive cannons and lightning spears, and one of them shoots out this big ass, like 4-foot wide buzzsaw that flies at you. Are you supposed to believe that because you survived that because your character was a health bar, that this regular human woman can take having massive 4-foot buzzsaws shot at her face? Or maybe it's a game mechanic because you're playing a video game. Games have to be both challenging and fun. If you couldn't die in Doom and instantly murder everything, it wouldn't be challenging. And if every single machine in Horizon Zero Dawn could one-shot you, it wouldn't be fun. You just gotta use your brain a little bit, guys. It's not that hard. Which, by the way, now that we're at this point, let's actually get to the point of the video where we talk about what this dude can do and how he'll do during the Eclipse. And yeah, I will say at the beginning of this series, this dude's just a regular guy. Now, I'm gonna put him above a regular guy, obviously, because there's the whole thing about taking demon souls and empowering yourself with demon souls. So he's very clearly stronger than a normal dude, especially by the end of the game. But how much stronger than a normal dude? We really don't have that much evidence to say. Even the most powerful beings in this game, the archdemons and the monumentals, aren't really shown to do a whole lot in terms of just like physical ability. The main things that make the Slayer of Demons so dangerous are, well, 3 things. He has all of his magic and faith abilities. That's pretty cool. The fact that his soul is connected to the Nexus so he can't die. If you kill him, he just gets transported to the Nexus. And the Maiden in Black, which can use the demon souls to empower him. Outside of these 3 things, he's definitely a superhuman being, but it's really nothing more impressive than what we've seen Guts do. Yeah, while it's true that we see him fight a bunch of demons who are considerably larger and stronger than he is, so does Guts. And Guts does it more often and oftentimes more powerful demons than he does. Guts is also shown to be clearly a lot more skilled than the Slayer of Demons. Throughout all of Demon Souls, you never see the Slayer of Demons fight any more than like a half a dozen dudes at a time. Absolute maximum, maybe 10 or 15. But even then, that only really happens when you make enemies chase you to the locations of other enemies, and then you end up screwing yourself by having to fight more than what the game is actually set up to have you fight, which is generally only like 3 or 4 dudes at a time max. You get very easily overwhelmed and fucked up in this game. I mean, just be honest with yourself. If you took Guts from the Golden Age arc, the dude who killed over 100 people with a sword, and you chucked him at the beginning of Demon Souls, do you not see him getting through that entire game without dying? Who's gonna be able to kill him? He's faster and physically stronger than basically everyone there. And the characters that are physically stronger than him, like there are several bosses who are larger and will be stronger than Guts, just like a lot of these bosses are larger and stronger than the Slayer of Demons, that's not going to stop Guts from killing them. Guts kills demons physically stronger than himself all the time. It's his skill that overcomes. And when it comes to Slayer of Demons, his skill really kind of lacks. The reason why the Slayer of Demons gets through all of his challenges is because he has an unlimited number of tries to do it. He keeps dying over and over and over again, and eventually he overcomes. As far as his magic and faith abilities go, they're good, like they'll be useful. It's not like they're worthless, but they are pretty straightforward. There isn't a whole lot here that's going to completely change the tide of the fight. I mean, you have to think about what he's facing here. He's facing a literal army of giant fucking demons. Every single one of these demons would be the equivalent of like a boss demon in Demon Souls, and he's surrounded by hundreds of them. The entire band of the Hawk was wiped out in a couple of minutes by these guys, and they're a small army in a manga / anime series. We see regular basic bitch soldiers that are not Griffith and Guts, like Casca, who is shown being able to fight against knights who are so physically strong they can cleave a dozen dudes in half with a single swing. This is the type of world that Berserk is, and the Demon Slayer just really doesn't match up. All of his spells and faith abilities are extremely straightforward. Shoot a fireball, make a bunch of little magic missiles that then eventually wait a couple seconds and then fire all together at your target. Heal yourself, cast a rejuvenation, cast God's Wrath, which is just this outward light explosion that takes forever to set up. That's another thing. Basically, every spell he has a ridiculous wind-up time. He's not going to have a lot of time to actually utilize these. People who play the current FromSoft games who haven't played Demon Souls in a really long time might forget that Demon Souls had a much slower pace than current games. You can use a lot of cool, crazy, magical side abilities and things like Elden Ring relatively quickly. In Demon Souls, everything was super fucking slow and methodical. The demon bosses were super slow. They didn't start getting really fast and aggressive until the Dark Souls games started coming out. The entirety of Demon Souls is about going into a boss, not knowing what you're gonna get, getting your ass beat as many times as it takes for you to learn the enemy's moveset and then counter appropriately. It's about planning things out, getting the right weapons and spells that'll be most useful against that boss. And the vast majority of the game, you are fighting one boss or like a couple of regular enemies. If you take that same character and you throw him in this situation where he's surrounded by literally hundreds of giant demons that are all like coming at him, trying to rip him apart, what's he gonna do? He can't prepare. He can't try to strategize. He can't even really think. He just has to fight and survive. And there's no real evidence he can do that on the fly. The one saving grace he has is the Nexus, which he probably won't even be able to use because he's not even in his same universe. He's gonna be over in this Berserk hell world. How do we even know that Nexus will pick his soul back up and bring him back to life if he dies outside of the universe? We don't. So chances are the dude's only gonna have one life. So yeah, he's gonna fucking die, and he's gonna die bad. I understand that people like to suck the plumpy vein covered cock of the From Software games, but if you really look at it, come on. It's not, you know, I give you some leeway for things like Elden Ring. I get it, like he moved all the meteors and shit, cool. But Demon Souls, it's pretty tame in comparison. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Remember, join the membership, you get exclusive access to unique videos that no one else can get. And don't forget to check down below in the pinned comment where there's a link to the Discord as well as my second channel. So don't forget to check that out and subscribe if you just want more of me, baby. That's what you do. That's where I am. Okay, you know, go do that if you're interested. Next up on the list we have Ashitaka from Princess Mononoke. I don't know why more people don't talk about this movie. This is a cool movie. Like when it comes to Miyazaki films, by the way, I just realized that From Software guy is called Miyazaki, and this guy's also called Miyazaki. It's just two Miyazakis back to. That's funny. I didn't realize that. But when it comes to the Miyazaki films, everyone talks about Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle and My Little Totoro, but you never really hear about Princess Mononoke. And I don't understand why, because I really like this film. This is like a fun little adventure film. It's pretty cool. It's a little too long and it drags a bit in the middle, and I think the ending's kind of rushed. But overall, this is a cool movie. If you've never seen the movie, basically the whole premise is that there's a small village and then a demon comes out of the woods, and the prince of this village has to go out to meet the demon to fight it to protect his people. He does and defeats it, but while doing so, he gets cursed and is doomed to die this horrible death where his soul gets consumed by the curse, and he's gonna die. By the laws of his village, because he's cursed, he's not allowed to stay there anymore, and he has to get banished from the village. He then has a limited amount of time to figure out how to stop the curse before he dies, which then leads him coming into contact with basically this conflict that's going on where there's this town of iron workers who are fighting with these nearby forest creatures. They're intelligent forest creatures. There's like a wolf clan and a boar clan, and they're both ruled over by like a wolf god and a boar god. It's like humanity against nature, and humanity has discovered firearms which allow them to fight the gods in a way they couldn't fight before. And Ashitaka is spending the entire movie basically trying to stop this war from going down, because any way it goes, it's going to end really poorly for everybody, while also trying to cure this curse before it kills them. All the while this is happening, there's also a love story between Ashitaka and this girl who was raised by the wolves, who became like the wolf princess, which is why it's called Princess Mononoke. It's referring to this wolf girl that he starts to fall in love with, and it's a really cool movie. It's a kids movie with a pretty decent message that doesn't treat kids like they're fucking retarded. Actually, if you're a kid watching this, it makes you feel like you're not watching a kids movie, you're watching a relatively adult movie, because it's actually pretty fucking violent for a kids film. Characters get fucking murdered in this movie on screen. There are straight up beheadings, and you see blood in this movie. But the whole movie has this message of hatred and how hatred can consume a person, and all of the violence and warring that's going on in the movie is because of hatred on both sides, and Ashitaka plays like the outsider that doesn't have any dog in this fight and is just trying to stop it. Stop the hatred, stop the violence, and get everyone to move on. And again, the movie does it in a very smart way. It's not just like everyone can just have peace and love and awesome and hippie bullshit. There are actually some legitimately harsh realities that the movie has to touch on in order to acquire that peace. A lot of people have to die, and a lot of people have to lose things that they really don't want to lose. Again, really good movie, and it seems like everybody I talk to who have seen Miyazaki movies haven't seen this one. So check it out. It's on HBO Max. I don't know where else you could see it, but it's a pretty good movie. As for Ashitaka himself, the only reason why I have him here in front of the Slayer of Demons isn't even necessarily because I think he's more powerful or more skilled or whatever. It's just because we have a lot more evidence of his skill, personality, and power than we do of the Slayer of Demons. We don't really know how strong the Slayer of Demons is. The only evidence we have that he's stronger than a normal fucking person is the fact that he fights giant monsters, which isn't evidence at all, because every single fucking story with a knight that has to go off and slay a dragon has the knight go off, fight, and defeat monsters that are considerably more powerful than they are. So you can't even say that makes the Slayer of Demons stronger. And the fact that he uses demon souls to enhance his physical abilities, but we don't know to what degree, because again, this character doesn't really have any actual legitimate strength or power feats that a normal person can't do. We just know he's superior to a normal person. We also don't have any idea how skilled he is because of the way the game works. The entire plot of the game is about him constantly dying over and over again and continuously fighting the same fights until he can overcome. So when he overcomes, is it because of skill, or is it because he just keeps fucking dying over and over? And after a while, he just kind of figures out how to overcome this particular fight. The whole dying and going to the Nexus situation wasn't a part of the story. We could say that Slayer of Demons was skilled enough to fight through this whole game without dying. Like, he overcame all these challenges. But if you go by the actual story of the game, we know that's not true. So we can't really give him a ton of points when it comes to his skill. Ashitaka, by comparison, we see how fucking strong this dude is. The curse on his arm is fed and spreads via his own hatred and anger, but it also gives him massive strength enhancements. At one point in the movie, there's this massive city gate that's made out of a bunch of giant logs, and it is specifically stated that it takes 10 dudes to open up this gate using a pulley system. In case you're not aware how science works, pulley systems make it easier to lift things than if you were to do it physically. Despite that, Ashitaka is capable of opening this gate by himself with one hand while carrying a person on his back. He is very physically strong. He's shown firing arrows at multiple people in this movie, and every single time he does, his arrow lops off an entire limb. He beheads 2 different people with arrows in this movie, and it's not just a stylistic choice. At one point when he beheads a dude with an arrow, someone literally screams, "That dude has the strength of a demon." We see other characters use bow and arrows where those arrows hit and it just hits like a normal arrow, but for whatever reason, Ashitaka's arrows literally cut off whole fucking body parts every time he fires them. It's really cool looking. His speed is really impressive. At one point, a character fires an arrow at him very close to him. He's like within 10 to 15 feet away from him, and Ashitaka very casually, very badassedly catches the arrow, then puts it in his own bow and fires it right back at the dude, immediately killing him. There really isn't any human being in this movie that's capable of challenging him in any way in a physical confrontation. At one point, the best swordsman of the town pulls his sword on Ashitaka, and he with one hand grabs the sword and bends it backwards, telling him, "Just get out of my way, you don't want this shit right now." And the dude just does, because what are you supposed to do to the guy who just broke your fucking weapon casually? If this movie was a normal adventure film and it was about Ashitaka having to overcome some kind of villain and fight him and and beat him like basically 99% of fucking movies, it wouldn't be a very good movie because, well, while I wouldn't say that Ashitaka is a Gary Stu exactly, he's definitely overpowered. And the action scenes would be pretty boring because there's really no one here who could stop them if he decided to just kill everybody. But that's not what the movie's about. The movie's about him trying to stop the violence, stop the hatred, and stop a warring between two factions, both of which have legitimate reasons to being in this war in the first place. When Ashitaka is forced into using violence and killing someone, it's viewed as a failure on his part. He doesn't want to do it. There isn't a single scene in this movie where he goes to fight someone and doesn't give them fair warning, being like, look, I don't want to do this. Please don't make me kill you. And then they make him anyway, and he kills them, which is another thing I appreciate about this movie, especially for a kid's film. If this movie was made in America by Disney or DreamWorks or something, the hatred is bad, don't use violence messaging would have Ashitaka using the power of kindness to overcome his foes and changing their hearts, and basically violence can be completely avoided. But this movie is written far more believably than that. No, they make it very clear that if Ashitaka wants to stop this war, it's gotta get messy. A lot of people have to die before everyone will put down their arms and stop trying to kill each other. Ashitaka doesn't want violence, he's completely against it in fact, but he's not unwilling to use it if he absolutely has to for the safety of himself, the people around him, as well as to complete his goal of actually stopping the conflict. It makes the writing seem a lot more believable than most kids' movies that would tackle this same subject. I mean, this movie racks up a body count, like a big body count. More people die in this movie than are alive by the end. Now, the question of whether or not Ashitaka can actually survive the eclipse, I think the answer is pretty clearly no. Honestly, in a lot of ways, I kind of see Ashitaka as far as physicals are concerned, as a sort of light Guts. Like, I feel like if we would have seen Guts when he was a teenager, because Ashitaka is a teenager, he looks like he might be like 15 in this movie, I think Guts would probably be pretty similar in strength, speed, and just physical ability as Ashitaka is. But as it is, Guts is a grown-ass man who's taken on 100 dudes by himself and still couldn't take on these people. Ashitaka is clearly much stronger, faster, and more skilled than anyone around him in the movie, but he only ever takes on like 2 or 3 dudes at a time. And while he's definitely physically superior to everyone else, I think it would be a stretch to say he's as physically superior as someone like Guts would be. The only real argument I think you can make for Ashitaka actually doing better than Guts is the fact that his curse strengthens him when he utilizes his anger, which in the movie he never does. Like, there's times where he gets a little bit angry, but for the most part he's constantly trying to hold it back, and we never actually see him just full-on rage out at anyone and use the full power of his curse. So maybe if he's in this situation and he does that, he could possibly pass up the strength and physical abilities of someone like Guts. However, when he does do that, the curse spreads faster, so that would kill him a lot faster than he would otherwise die. And I really don't think character-wise he would be someone who would tap into that anger, considering the stuff he goes through in this movie and still doesn't. Like, he literally gets shot in the back with a cannon in this movie, and still he is not angry at all. It doesn't seem to make him angry when people do things to him, more so when people do things and commit horrors to innocent people and people around him. And if he's just by himself in the eclipse surrounded by monsters, there's no one else but him that the monsters can inflict suffering on, so there's nothing for him to really get mad about. I would argue that he would likely be more powerful if you put more people in with him, specifically unarmed or innocent people, so that the demons can slaughter them in front of him, to which he can utilize his cursed powers to fuck him up a little bit. But even then, it's really just a guess whether or not he would be strong enough to actually turn the tide, or not necessarily turn the tide, because that's not happening, but survive longer than Guts. But as of right now, I would say he's not going to survive anywhere near as long as Guts. Maybe like, I don't know, 60% of the time Guts did. He's got maybe a couple minutes at most. Next up on our list, we have Geralt of Rivia from The Witcher. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting this dude to be this high up on the list either. Generally speaking, when I think of Geralt, I don't really think of somebody who's all that powerful or great. Like, he's good. He's like a pretty decent monster hunter. But I don't really think of him as being incredibly like overpowered. But I mean, he kind of is in a lot of ways. I know the one that people are gonna disagree with is the Slayer of Demons, how like Geralt is not gonna be able to compare with the Slayer of Demons, but why not? The only real feats we get from the Slayer of Demons is that he fights a bunch of giant monsters, but so does Geralt. Geralt has defeated a Kraken, or like an off-brand version of a Kraken. It was a giant sea monster with tentacles, that like wipes out whole buildings with a single swipe of his tentacles, and a dragon that destroyed like half a city, like a massive dragon. Nobody would argue that Geralt is equivalent in strength to the Kraken or the dragon, so I don't really get why they argue that the Slayer of Demons is equivalent to the demons that he fights. They've both fought and killed giant fucking monsters. But unlike Slayer of Demons, who doesn't really have a whole lot of on-screen feats or even implied feats for the most part, Geralt actually does. The novels just straight up say that he swings his sword so fast that people can't see it moving, and then at one point he ran through the woods so fast that he looked like a blur. In the Blood and Wine DLC, there's a scene where he fights against a vampire who dashes at him so fast that he breaks the sound barrier, and Geralt is able to not only block his attack, but evenly fight against this dude for the entire fight. There was another time where Geralt was inside of this giant windmill, and the windmill collapsed on top of him, and he just picked himself up from under the rubble and just walked away like he was fine. No broken bones, no nothing. Slayer of Demons doesn't have anything even close to this throughout the entire game. There isn't a whole lot of evidence that anything in the game even flies faster than sound for him to actually react to it the same way that we've seen Geralt do. Yeah, there's a lot of projectiles and stuff that you can react to in the game, but as I've said before, there isn't a single ability in this game that your character or the enemies use that it doesn't have a massive fucking wind-up time. So he has plenty of time to react to it. And while Geralt has a lot less options in combat than Slayer of Demons does, like I would argue Slayer of Demons has clearly more weapons and magical abilities and armors and stuff like that with differing effects, I would argue that Geralt's are more useful. Most of Slayer of Demons magics are very straightforward. They're either healing, amping in some way, shielding in some way, some kind of projectile magic attack, some kind of area of effect attack. It's all very simplistic stuff. Geralt only has like, what, 6 or 7 signs? But all these signs do vastly different things that would just be a lot more useful in this situation. Axii has the ability to control the minds of the people he fights against, and later on in the game he can control more than one. Jurden has this giant circular sign he puts below his feet that makes everything around him speed get cut in half. Gwen has a sign that puts a shield around his body, and unlike the shields that the Slayer use where it just ups his durability, this actually completely negates one hit from his enemies. But really the two biggest things that I think are going to help Geralt the most and allow him to survive longer than the previous two characters is one, the fact that Geralt has a silver sword, and the Apostle's weakness in Berserk is silver, but more importantly, within the universe of The Witcher, basically all monsters are weak to silver, which means that the moment Geralt sees the Apostle, he will automatically pull out the silver sword to try and use it because he will assume that they will be weak to silver. Even if you did give the Slayer of Demons a silver weapon, he wouldn't actually have any way of knowing that that silver weapon would do more damage to the demons than any of his normal weapons. He has no reason to use that weapon over the other ones because the demons in his universe aren't weak to silver. And honestly, the fact of the matter is that Geralt's fighting style just attributes itself to survival more so than the Slayer of Demons does. I mean, look at how the Slayer of Demons fights. We don't really see his style necessarily. The best we can do is actually look at the gameplay and kind of try and guess what his style is based on that. And the style that we see within the gameplay just doesn't attribute itself to being very effective when you're completely fucking surrounded. Geralt, by comparison, is actually really used to being surrounded. We've seen him fight several dozen people at the same time. He's extremely light on his feet, he's extremely cautious, and he has a lot of abilities that allows him to, again, slow down his opponents, have them fight each other, things that can allow him to get the better of a greater number of opponents than himself in a way that Slayer of Demons just doesn't have. I would actually argue that despite Geralt being physically weaker than someone like Guts, he would likely last a lot longer than Guts as well, because at this point in the series, Guts' entire style is just hit them hard and fast and go straight at them, and he's not shown to be super intelligent with his fighting style. Remember, this is the Golden Age arc. At this point, he's mostly only fought humans that he is significantly more powerful than. He's only really fought like 1 or 2 demons at this point, and when he gets thrown in the Eclipse, he's basically completely overpowered, and he really can't do a whole lot. Geralt is very used to being overpowered. He's used to fighting against enemies that can kill him in a single hit, and he has vastly more experience than anyone on this list by a massive margin. So I would say because he uses a weapon that is the weakness of the Apostles, because he has all of these crazy magic powers that more attribute him to being able to use them for survival, and because of his experience fighting far stronger creatures than himself, I honestly, surprisingly, think he would last a lot longer than Guts would, even though I think that if Guts fought Geralt in a fight, Guts would win. In this particular situation, I just think that Geralt's skills more closely align to what he would need to have in order to survive something like this. Last up, but certainly not least, we have Hellboy. And yeah, I totally lied. I'm sorry about that. I said at the beginning of this video that no one was going to survive, and To be fair, that's because I didn't think anyone on this video was going to survive because I hadn't picked the list yet. But I intended on picking a list of relatively low tier, not that impressive monster hunters that would have been slaughtered here. But after I looked at the list of monster hunters that I wrote down, I realized that all of the other hunters that would have came on this list and not just completely dominated it, there was really nothing more to add that didn't already happen with the other characters. Like, they were just good swordsmen with different magical abilities and stuff, but it was really just going to be me repeating the same stuff. Hellboy adds something a little new and different and unique, and I fucking like Hellboy, sue me. So let's just get it off the table immediately. Hellboy will dominate here, like, super, super hard. For one, he can't die. Like, Hellboy can only die if he actually wants to die, like if he chooses to die, which in of itself is pretty broken. His right arm of doom also allows him to travel freely between multiple universes whenever he wants, so he can travel between hell, earth, and heaven very casually. At the end of the series, when he goes to hell, he straight up has the option to go back and chooses not to because he just feels that he would be more useful down in hell, so he's not bringing all these problems back to earth because he's constantly being chased because he has the right arm of doom. And honestly, just in terms of his strength and speed and all of his abilities, he's stronger than basically all of these apostles by a considerable margin. I would actually say that he would likely kill all of these demons and then have to fight Femto directly. I don't think he would necessarily be able to kill... No, he would be able to probably kill Femto. I'm aware that in Berserk, they actually don't know how to kill Femto because he's got this whole thing where he, like, sort of phase shifts into an alternate reality and they just can't really touch him. But, Hellboy can. The right arm of doom allows him to kill things that normally would be impossible to kill. It's why he can touch ghosts and kill vampires by punching them, even though vampires usually have a very specific way of killing them. Basically, the right arm of doom just ignores the rules of reality in order to kill things. Now, you could say, well, there's no evidence that the right arm of doom can kill Femto because he's literally not there. He's like in another fucking plane of existence. But as I said before, the right arm of doom has the ability to reach across planes of existence. That's how he's capable of traveling between worlds. The whole reason why the villains of the story actually want the right arm of doom is because it's capable of reaching into the other world and letting the Ogdu Jakad come in, which are like these H.P. Lovecraft-esque chaos gods. So if he has the ability with the right arm of doom to reach across worlds and to go into different universes, I don't see why he wouldn't be able to hurt Femto, even if Femto is kind of phase shifting into another reality to avoid damage. Why would that be able to get away from the right arm of doom that is capable of also going into other universes? And if Hellboy is actually capable of getting his hands on Femto, there's really no argument that you can make that he wouldn't be able to kill him. Femto can't kill Hellboy. Like, he just straight up can't. We've seen Hellboy be ripped to fucking pieces and come back. His body has been nearly completely destroyed, and he shows up in heaven, and then he just walks out of fucking heaven, and his body is just the same body that it was in heaven. He doesn't return to his old shitty body. There isn't even a whole lot of evidence that he's returning to his old body. By the way it looks like he's literally just taking himself as he is in heaven and entering the other world, which means you can't even really take the right arm of doom from him by force, which explains why no one really ever tries to do it. They always try and get him to willingly open up the gate between worlds. They never just try to cut his arm off, because it seems like when you do, like, rip him apart and he chooses to die and goes to another world, the fucking right arm of doom goes with him. Add on to that the fact that Hellboy is completely immortal, and you have a limitless fight where the only possible outcome is Hellboy killing Femto. Because if they are both immortal, which as far as we can tell they both are, and Femto can't kill Hellboy, but Hellboy can possibly kill Femto, that's literally the only possible thing that can happen. In the Hellboy universe, after he willingly decides to stay in hell, he takes the whole thing over and literally becomes the king of all of hell. And honestly, basically the exact same shit's gonna happen here. What the fuck is Femto even gonna do? What is God Hand gonna do? Hellboy is shown in this series to be basically completely immune to magic. The crazy, mystical, godlike powers of the Ogdu Jahad don't affect him at all. They have no effect. Those are fucking chaos gods. Where is the evidence that even the God Hand will be able to affect him with any of his powers? While the actual physical abilities of Hellboy aren't really shown to be all that impressive in the Hellboy universe, I mean, they're definitely superhuman, but he's not like a god or anything. The hacks that we've seen him be able to ignore, the things he's been able to survive, and the beings he's been able to kill despite that limited physical ability makes it pretty obvious to me Hellboy is gonna slaughter here. Like, he's gonna absolutely slaughter. But that's gonna be all from me. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Remember, join the membership, you get exclusive access to videos that no one else could get. And don't forget to check down below at the pinned comment where there is a link to the Discord as well as the second channel where I put any video that is not specifically a survival challenge. If you want a little, mix up, make it a little different, a little extra on the side, that's there for you. That's what you get. And always remember, y'all stay safe out there, you hear?